This video is proudly brought to you by Air Models. That is not a Googleable name, guys. What are you thinking? If you're looking at any of the aircraft in this video and thinking, God damn, I want one of them for my own, then check out Air Models at the link down below. They support the channel and my crippling addiction. I want one of each of them. Is that something? Can you guys just pay me in models? Like, is that something we can organise? Hi troops, it's Koala here at the Midlands Air Museum just outside Coventry. I have to be a little bit quick because the weather has started getting really bad and the museum is technically closed right now. They've generously let me come in here just to film a quick museum tour. You can see the F4 Phantom behind me. It's an F4C Phantom built in 1958. And luckily I've been able to come in here and do this really quickly. But there is so much here. We're just in the exterior part of the museum right now. And you can see there's a ton here. We actually didn't mean to come here. Just lucked our way into it. You can see the Westland Scout down there. And another Phantom that's in a little bit worse shape than the one behind me right now. But here we have the Vickers Viscount, which is a very interesting looking aircraft. I initially mistook it for a Fokker Friendship, which I've actually been on in the Royal Air Force Museum in Australia, in Adelaide. But no, this one's a wee bit different. See the 4 engines there. Got a few exhibits around here. See the back of the F100 Super Sabre there. Interesting looking livery. I really like that colour scheme for the F100 actually. Sorry, I hope you can actually hear me properly. We are right next to the road. We've got a T-33 there from the Italian Air Force. I actually got to sit in one just in the inside section of the museum here. Whoop, the F100. F100C, I think. I'll have to go and have a look and you can see the black lightning round there. Now here, what's this? Can anyone guess? Before we continue round, Royal Canadian Air Force F101 Voodoo. Oh sorry, training version of the Voodoo. You can see the twin seat cockpit there. So TF101, I believe. TF101B. Voodoo, very interesting aircraft. One of the few, and one of the early supersonic aircraft, one of the few that actually sits between top speeds of Mach 1 and Mach 2. Very quickly we jumped from the Super Sabre, see that catfish cockpit, air intake in front of us there, to Mach 2 with aircraft like the F4 Phantom and the F104 Starfighter and the F105 Thunder Chief. Oh, I'm almost walking into the wing here of a Saudi Air Force twin-seat trainer version of the Black Lightning. Beautiful aircraft. I won't show you too much around that side, we'll get there. The F100. F100D. It is an F100D. You can see the pitot tube at the front there. It's the front of the Air Italia T-33 back there. De Havilland Beaver. De Havilland Canada. DHC-2, yes. I'm reading the signs as we're going past. Got a towed 40mm Bofors back there. There's a Jeep behind it, towing it I think. And here the fighter version, the Black Lightning F6. And yes, I do say Black Lightning, fight me, because the F6 version of the Lightning, which of course is the variant we have in War Thunder, fuck off loud engines, the variant we have in War Thunder, the Black Lightning F6, and it is back because by the time the F6 was created, the English Electric had been absorbed by the British Aircraft Corporation. So this is the F6. Behind me you see the Mystère 4 from France. I hope I'm getting a good angle of it there. I was not prepared But this exhibit, I really did not expect this out of nowhere. We were leaving Coventry for another video project, which I'll actually have to come back another time and finish off. But that'll be quite an interesting one. You see those beautiful anhedral wings of the Black Lightning and the red top missile there. Very interesting. These things could actually lock onto a target frontally. Very, very rare for an early heat-seeking missile. But provided the target was going supersonic speeds, that red top missile there could actually find them front on. What a gorgeous aircraft. You see the belly pod, the blister pod there for the 30mm Aiden cannons. Was it 2 or 4 on the S6? 2 30mm Aiden cannons and a conformal fuel tank there as well. So you see how much area that blister pod, that underbelly pod adds to the Black Lightning. Absolutely gorgeous. Chunky, but fantastic. Those twin engines, very rare. In fact, I can't think of another aircraft, at least not another fighter, that does this, but the twin engines stacked one on top of the other, rather than side by side, like you'd find in, well, the F-101, the F-4, the, what else am I thinking of? Anything, F-111, MiG-25, take your pick, Mirage 4. See the back of them here on the training version, the Saudi training version. There's actually an aerodrome over here. You can see a couple of, there's a Beechcraft over there. I'm not good with my civilian aircraft. See the front of the TF-101. TF-101B. F-101B, of course, no guns. This was a missile-only interceptor using the AIM-4 Falcon. Latest variant, the AIM-4G, I believe, was actually quite a decent missile. But of course the F-4G, sorry, the AIM-4G was contact fuse only, so not very good for an anti-fighter missile. And of course Canada was never invaded by fleets of Soviet bombers. I hope you can still hear me relatively well. The airfield over there was completely silent just 20 minutes ago. See the F-4C there. No missiles under this one. See the hardpoints 3 and 4 there. But the underwing fuel tank, drop tank. See an F-86A Sabre. See if we can point out, I'm not sure my camera will pick it up here, that's where the slats would drop down. I do have a special soft spot for the Sabre, not so much the A variant. You see the machine gun ports there have been covered up, of course, for the display, but the F-86H, one of the latest versions of the Sabre. Absolutely phenomenal fighter. Of course, behind it we have an East German, German Democratic Republic MiG-21 variant.
Hi all, sorry to break in here. At this part in the video, there was a plane from the aerodrome, which you've seen behind the museum in a couple of shots, flew really low overhead and completely drowned out my audio. I think they were doing touch and goes there for lessons or something. What I'm saying in this part of the video is about the MiG-21 variant here. It is a MiG-21 SPS, one of the second generation fish beds fielded by East Germany. And the way you can tell that is by the lack of a gun. So the later versions of the MiG-21, the ones you'll hear about most commonly, the 21M, the BIS, as well as the Lancer and Bison, they have a twin-barrel 23mm autocannon under the nose. The earliest models had a 30mm, same as on the MiG-19, but these Gen 2s, they didn't have a gun, didn't need them. These were missile-only bomber interceptors, and these were in fact the primary variant used by the VPAF, the North Vietnamese Air Force, during the Vietnam War. At least those were PF models, which this is the German naming scheme of. So I kind of laugh when that complaint gets leveled at the F4 Phantom. You know, oh, a fighter without a gun, how stupid. When the MiG-21s they're famous for facing in Vietnam didn't have one either. The East German SPS would eventually get a gun too, just as with the Soviet PFM variant. The Germans called it the SPSK for Kanun, and it mounted an underbelly gun pod, just like the Naval and early Air Force model F4s. But this particular model has a hardpoint for a drop tank under there instead. So that's one way you can identify which variant of the MiG-21 you're looking at, for any of you who are interested. Anyway, thank you, back to the video.
Where would be the gun? Of course, the MiG-21 MF, the SMT, the BESS, MiG-21R, they all had that 20mm pod. 20mm gun, sorry, the internal gun, not the pod. Have a Mi-24D hind here, with the Falanga ATGMs there. A very alien looking double bubble cockpit, the Mi-24. Love the look of this helicopter. Very interesting that the US never quite had anything like it, besides perhaps the armed version of the Black Hawk. The US focused on lighter, more nimble, quicker attack helicopter types and transport types, like of course the Huey, the Cobra. See the twin-seat cockpit of the Saudi Lightning trainer there. English Electric Canberra. This is a photo reconnaissance version of the Canberra. It's actually starting to rain here, so hopefully I can finish up the exhibits before it starts raining, do the museum justice. But if you have the opportunity, just outside Coventry, this is a fantastic museum to come to. You can see the ferry Gannet there with the RP3 rocket under the wing. Don't want to skip the F-104G Starfighter, the Widowmaker. This is a Danish Air Force, someone tell me? Royal Danish Air Force, yes, correct. AIM 9 P side windows under the wings there. The adapters there for them. Of course, the F-104G, not used by the US Air Force. They'd replaced the F-104 as a primary fighter by this point. You might be quite shocked to find out that while Air Forces like the Italians defined the F-104 as an interceptor, of course the F-104 ASA, dedicated interceptor for the Italian Air Force. And you'd think it looks exactly like it would be prime interceptor, just a rocket with some tiny little wings, not meant to carry massive weapons, not meant to maneuver. Prime bomber interceptor, yes? No. No, for some strange reason, the US Air Force called this a multi-role fighter bomber. When you look at it, it carried about, what? 2,200 pounds of bombs? Or a couple of air-to-air missiles in the US service. Never got those pylons under the fuselage plumbed for missiles. But they called it a multi-role fighter bomber, not an interceptor. See the Gannet here, one of the ugliest aircraft, I think. I actually got into a bit of a debate on Twitter with a French person who was looking at basically a French Navy equivalent to the Gannet. Sort of a more stretched out fuselage, more stretched wing, and different looking nose intake. Turboprop. And I said, well, they managed to make an uglier ferry Gannet, but my goodness, what a face for radio this one. A contra-rotating propeller there, you can see the blades oriented in opposite directions. And of course, one of the most fantastic exhibits here, very recent, a Royal Air Force Tornado GR4. Not one of the earlier models. The GR4 was a vastly upgraded model. Very, very potent. Carried all sorts of ground attack weapons. Not exactly the most amazing fighter type, though of course the Royal Air Force did transfer it into the air defense version, the ADV. They call it the Tornado F2 and the F3. But the GR1 and the GR4 were dedicated ground attack aircraft. Very, very popular. I'm not sure if that's quite the right way of saying it. You can see the aerial refueling tube there. Very useful in the Persian Gulf War in 1991. It was one of the most advanced types present in the war for penetration and runway bombing. They had the big Durandal, the Matra Durandal runway penetrator bombs, and just cratered the Iraqi air bases. And any Iraqi planes that took off were faced immediately with hordes of F-15s and F-16s. With your AIM-7 Ps at the time, I believe, would have been the primary variant. AIM-7M, perhaps. Sea Vixen. Very interesting looking with that off-center, that big bump of the cockpit off to one side. I actually think it looks quite interesting. It looks very space age, especially with those... God, look at the wings. Very interesting looking aircraft. Some of them did actually have guns. Mostly they were missile-only fighter types. Of course, look at that, the Panavia Tornado GR4, the interdictor strike variant. Pulled about 2 Gs, the wings would snap off, but besides that, very, very impressive aircraft. God, I don't want to leave here now. Yeah, fantastic museum. I'm really, really glad to have the opportunity to come in here. Have a look. You can see the Royal Navy Sea Harrier. That is not an FRS, that's a FA2 variant behind me. These are the ones that were upgraded. You see the air intake there. To carry the AIM-120 AMRAAM. Served as the Royal Navy's primary fighter aircraft until very recently, when they were replaced with the F-35. And of course the F-35 rocked up quite late, as we all know. And the Royal Navy said, well, hold on, you've retired all our Sea Harriers. What are we supposed to do for a fighter? And the British government said, well, you can just for now, I mean, we already organised this, you can just use the Royal Air Force's Harriers. And they said, well, the Royal Air Force's Harriers are bombers, not fighters. You can't bomb incoming enemy aircraft. But, no, finally, the Royal Navy, the Queen Elizabeth class carriers, there's actually a model of one inside in the warehouse just in there, where there's a ton more exhibits. There's a model of the Queen Elizabeth class. Are now kitted out with F-35Bs, the VTOL variant. Love the Sea Harrier though. That lengthened cockpit with the, I forget what the name of the radar system was. It was in the nose of that thing, but capable of guiding radar missiles, or capable of at least providing some targeting information for them. Fantastic aircraft, and I really like the way it looks with that lengthened cockpit. I know a lot of people prefer the earlier versions with the streamlined cockpit, but sorry, not cockpit, radome, the nose cone. I actually really like them. The AV-8B Plus, used by the US Marine Corps and the Italian Air Force as well. I can see a Seahawk over there. Hawker Seahawk FGA-6. It's got some rockets under there. Sorry, were those not RP-3s? I forget what the other rockets are that this thing actually carried, and it is not telling me what they actually are. Those are not RP-3s, I don't think, under the wings there. Let me just zoom in for you. Little rockets compared to the one that was under the... Shit, I can't remember now. What did we see earlier with the, what I called RP-3s? One of the ones down there. Very Gannet, that's it. If anyone knows where I'm screwing up, because there's not both RP-3s, they're completely different missiles. The night fighter version of the Gloucester Meteor here. I actually saw a statue to Frank Whittle, who developed the engines for these things. Of course, the Gloucester E-28, first turbojet aircraft outside Germany. 1940, correct me if I'm wrong, 42, 43? Was it 41? Quite early. No, it was 41, 1941. Frank Whittle observed the testing of the Gloucester E-28. Quite a face for radio again, with that lengthened radar in the nose. The NF-14 version of the Gloucester Meteor. Much prefer the F8. They do have an F8 inside. At least I believe it's an F8. It's a day fighter version. Now, we will get to you. Don't worry, we'll get to you. Here we have one of my all-time favourites, the Hawker Hunter. F6A with the blister pods. Underneath there you can see the gun holes for the 30mm Aidens right there. Gorgeous aircraft, used very, very late, used until 2014, I believe, by the Lebanese Air Force. Hawker Hunter is just a phenomenal aircraft, quite small. You look at these things, it looks bigger than, say, an F-86 Sabre or a MiG-17, but no, this is quite a little aircraft by comparison. Not smaller than the Sabres. Looks like it sits a little lower down, at least on those landing gear. They're possibly not extended all the way, but not a large aircraft, especially by modern standards. Very good looking aircraft though. And a Gloucester Javelin. FAW Mark V, one of the slower versions of the Javelin. The testing of one of the Javelins actually had a fatal crash. They believed it was because it oversped, and tore its wings or couldn't control its control surfaces. The hydraulics stopped working, and it crashed, killing its pilot. Very unfortunate incident. And because of that, they limited the speed that the flight manual said the Gloucester Javelin could actually hit to about 100 kilometers per hour lower than the speed it was flying. This was quoted as the maximum speed it could achieve. And it wasn't the top speed. The thing flew faster than that, but it had ripped its wings off. So they said, in order to make sure that our pilots never do that in service, we'll limit the thing in the flight manuals to say that it's a lot slower than it is. And by the FAW Mark 7, I believe, or the Mark 9, maybe it was right to the Mark 9, they still used that flight manual that said the limited top speed was 1,040 kilometers per hour at 7,000 feet. It could actually do about 120 kilometers per hour faster than that. And it was actually discovered that the crash had nothing to do with overspeeding. So for the Mark, I believe it was the Mark 7, it may have been the Mark 9. Although now I'm thinking it might have actually been the Mark 6, as far back as the Mark 6, that they corrected the flight manual. So get Gaijin onto that. I've tried reporting it to them, but you know my opinions of Gaijin Entertainment at the moment. We have here the... remember the name before we get round to the sign. Actually, give us that information. Transport aircraft. Turboprop engines. What are you? I read this out before. Twin boom tail, which I actually love, very similar to the C-119 boxcar. Argosy, that's the one. I didn't just read it off the sign. What are you talking about? You're crazy. No, screenshot, it didn't happen. Got to admit, I do prefer the boxcar. What's this thing called? Looks very similar to the Super Mystère or the F-100 with that engine intake at the front. Much smaller aircraft. See, have a look at the sign here. Bolton Paul P111A. Well, I was never going to get that. But now... No, I twisted the camera the wrong way. The pièce de la résistance. The Vulcan. I saw this thing from on the road as you come in. This is one of the aircraft that greets you on the road as you drive in toward the museum. God damn gorgeous aircraft. The Avro Vulcan. See a whirlwind helicopter back there used in the Falklands War. Not necessarily that specific helicopter. Anyway, the Vulcan here. Look at these enormous wings, quite small for a strategic bomber, but still pretty big when you're standing underneath the thing. Let me just put this into perspective. I love this thing. This is absolutely gorgeous. And look, the city of Coventry. Like I said, we were only in Coventry for another video project. Actually stumbled upon this aircraft as we were on our way home. But my goodness, how could you not come in and take a look at this? Those massive engines there. Same engines, I believe, or at least the same family of engine that the Hawker Hunter used. 4 of them on this aircraft, which is a little bit overkill. Famously only ever used in the Black Buck raids on Stanley Airfield in the Falkland Islands. May 1st, or April 1st, 1982. Vulcans travelled from the UK all the way. They had to be outfitted to enter back into service. They actually had been retired already. There was a lot of work to get them ready to bomb the airfield at Stanley so that the Argentine Air Force couldn't use an airfield on the Falklands to field fighter aircraft, or at least attack aircraft. They were still able to field the Pucara, the strike aircraft, domestically developed Argentine strike aircraft, a little propeller thing, very similar to an OV-10 Bronco. But they were not able to field A4s or Mirages or Super Etendards from the Falklands themselves. They had to take off from Argentina, which left them very little fighting time, very little loiter time. I believe it was about 4 minutes. You can see a, what's it called, Blue Steel nuclear missile for the Vulcan. Never used, of course. We can thank God for that. Look at that thing, quite small for a nuclear. You'd call this a ballistic missile, yes? Not a cruise missile. I'm not quite sure. Nuclear weapons aren't really my forte. I prefer looking at the tactical stuff. See the Sea Harrier FA2. You're looking at us from down there. So once again, if you get the opportunity, if you're in the area, if you're in the UK, Midlands, and you manage to get down to Coventry, just outside on the A444, come to the Midlands Air Museum. Some fantastic exhibits here. I've got some footage from inside. I have the Meteor, T-33. You can actually go inside. They've closed all the aircraft exhibits, so I cannot go inside them now. Unfortunately, we just didn't get here in time, but they did generously allow me to come in and film a quick video for y'all. My God, what a gorgeous aircraft. If I could get in that thing, oh, I'd give an arm and a leg to do that. Got a T-33, US Air Force, yes. You can see it behind me, but it's mirrored on my phone, of course. Lockheed T-33 Shooting Star, of course a P-80, trainer version of the P-80. Used very, very late, used right up until the T-38 Talon, of which it's probably one of the oldest aircraft still in service. Oldest jet aircraft, at least. But there is a lot in the interior of this museum that we've skipped today. A tuning over there, a couple of Meteors here, one of which you can actually go in. I should really get out of here, but I will steal a quick look inside the Meteor cockpit. I have been in one of these before, and it is a tight fit if you're 6 foot. There we go. Can you imagine dogfighting in this thing, combat in this thing, flying? What was the range of the Meteor? Can't remember off the top of my head, but here's the view you get out the front. I am so cramped in here. Oh my God. Love this aircraft though. Trying to have a look at my flight stick. No, we won't do that. It's a professional video. It's for the museum. Of course, the gun trigger here. Beautiful, fantastic. I love the controls of these old aircraft. The new ones, having the screens, does look like it saves you a lot of trouble, but these old aircraft are so beautiful. I can't get enough of them. There's another, oops, sorry. There's another Meteor out of here. can't get in that one. This is a complete exhibit. And we can only get in. Oh my goodness, I can't get out. Oh, how did they do it? They have to hire a lot of people 4 foot and under. Fantastic aircraft though. Love the Meteors. One of my favourites. A couple of helicopters, a couple of other severed cockpits. Of course, the Nazi copter. Sorry, I can't say that. The what do they call this thing? It's got the. I probably can't show this actually. No. Don't show that. That is definitely not a particular cross symbol associated with a certain German dictator. Beautiful little aircraft. One of the very early helicopters. Twin rotor helicopter. Flettner. Although I believe Flettner, I have not actually heard of that before. This was not what I thought it was, which was a Fiesler design. Though it's possible that they're connected somehow. No, not quite what I thought it was, but still, interior section of the museum done. And there's so much more inside that we haven't seen. As we walk through a bunch of engine exhibits, turbojet exhibits, that I will have to have a quick little explore of as well. But I am well over time here. I should be out of here by now. They generously let me have half an hour. And we're here, what, 37 minutes in? I can't leave this alone. Look at this thing. Oh my goodness. We could have actually gone in the Harrier. What a shame. This is an FRS, I believe. Perhaps not. I should probably finish the video now. Thank you very much for watching, lads. Not sure if you'll see this bit. Quick last little look. You see the Hind, Starfighter, Tornado, edge of the camber right here. And you may be able to see the Phantom just over the top there. And the MiG-21. Quick look at the MiG-21. Phenomenal. Thank you very much, guys. Once again, let me know if you want to see more. Come to the Midlands Air Museum and take some photos for me. Post them on social media. Sitting in the aircraft I didn't get to go in today. Once again, thank you to the museum for letting me come in after hours. They closed just as we got here, but they said I could absolutely come in and have a little explore around, and thank God. What an amazing museum. So thank you very much to them. And if you get the opportunity, highly recommend it. Very interesting to see. If you do come here earlier in the day, you can actually go in a lot of these aircraft. And please, if you do, tag me in some photos because I want to see what I missed. Perhaps we'll come back here another time though. But I have about 2 hours driving to do now to get back to London. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this little museum tour. Let me know if you'd like to see more. Have plenty of footage from this trip. And until next time, have a good one, lads.
Thank you to all our Patreon supporters for making this video possible, with a special thanks to Mo, Ian Anderson, University, Dean Winger, Tsukoshi Tiger, Captain Fubar, Dragon of the West, and Dagger68. If you liked this video and you want to see more like this, then I hope you subscribe and check out the rest of our content. And if you really like what we do here, then consider supporting the channel on Patreon. Now, I have been away for a really long time due to some health issues, which turned out to be more significant than I first thought. I won't go into that here. I don't think that's what this channel's for. Maybe we'll talk about it on the other channel at some point, which if you're not following, by the way, go do that. But I do hope to be back now, and I also hope to see all you lads this week when I finally put out possibly the most widely requested video I've ever made. It's gonna be good. See you lads there.